meeting of the Wethersfield Board of Education. It is Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. We are in the Town Hall chambers. Ellen, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Chairman Carey. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Mrs. Roberts?
Here.
Mrs. Drew?
Here.
Mrs. Granado?
Present.
Mr. Healy?
Here.
Mr. Lacavoli?
Here.
Dr. Regan Lefebvre? Mr. Riley?
Here.
Vice Chair, Mr. Cassio?
Present.
Chairman, Mr. Carey?
Here.
And Wethersfield High School Student Representative, Mr. Ryan Fazina.
Here.
All present.
Thank you, Ellen. If we could have the web students lead us in the pledge, if we could all stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, guys. Great job. Mr. Emmett, student staff recognition.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Carey. Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to introduce and welcome to the podium the Webb 6th Grade Kindness Club.
Wow, you got the fancy screens. Good evening. My name is Annie Kuhn. I'm the curriculum specialist at Webb, and I'm here with the Kindness Club.
Hello, we are the WKC Web Kindness Club.
We are a group of 6th graders and 2 5th graders.
Our mission is to make our school a kinder place.
We have put together a slideshow presentation to show you the things we do in our Kind Web School.
Why the Kindness Club is important. The Kindness Club is a group dedicated to encouraging kindness. Now you may ask, why is the Kindness Club so important to Webb School? The Kindness Club encourages kindness all over our school. We do all different things during the month, showing ways you can use kindness and show it to others. Kindness is important and makes the world a better place. We try to make Webb a better place so students and teachers can enjoy their time here, and everyone can feel accepted.
So far, we've done skits for the town meeting about including everyone. Since everyone is different in their own ways, we shouldn't judge them. We also set the white table for Veterans Day.
America's White Table is a table that has different items representing soldiers that have been away from home. It's based on a book we read aloud. Lastly, we made another skit about not only being kind during school, but being kind at home, especially during the holidays. Being kind can help others feel better about themselves, and you can also feel good about the good kindness that you showed.
This week, students at Webb are participating in the Great Kindness Challenge.
Kindness Club members went to all the classrooms to talk about this special week.
Each day has a special focus.
Monday is be kind to yourself.
Tuesday is be kind to your family.
Wednesday is be kind to classmates and teachers.
Thursday is be kind to friends.
And Friday is be kind to neighbors.
Tomorrow afternoon, the upper grades are getting together to watch a video about how different people have spread kindness.
At this time, we welcome any questions from the Board of Education. From all of us here, thank you for listening to our presentation about the Kindness Club and what we do.
The Kindness Club is a great part of our school. So for the last, thank you. Thank you for being here and listening to our presentation. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, Webb School. Any board members with questions or comments? Mr. Lacavoli.
Thank you all for coming here tonight and explaining what you do so well in our schools, and thank you for spreading the kindness. It's very important. I was just wondering how long the Kindness Club has been around for, and how often do you meet?
We meet every Monday, and it started.
It actually started before COVID, but as so many things came and went during COVID, we've just sort of revived it this year, and so this is our first year back up and running.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? Yes, Mr. Healy.
Who made the tie-dyed shirts?
Don't tell him. You did. Don't tell him.
We made them last year, and we each got to make our own, like everybody in the entire school.
Oh, they're fantastic. I just,
Excellent. Ms. Granato.
Well, I congratulate you too. That was wonderful to get up there and talk to us about your Kindness Club. Is there any chance we could get that in our Friday update? I see your principal back there. Perhaps the film that they're going to do? That would be great. Thank you.
Excellent. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Cassio.
Just want to say thank you. It's great to have you here. It's good to have company. And, I wish you guys the best and success. How many, you're 6th and 2 fifth graders? All right, 5th graders, raise your hand. All right. So you are going to be the kindness leaders for next year? Maybe.
You confidently say yes.
Kinda? 6th graders, would you like to take this up to the 7th grade?
Maybe.
An opportunity?
Maybe.
A lot of pressure you're throwing out.
I know.
I say yes.
I'm going to check on you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming. Great job. Keep up the great work. Keep spreading kindness.
Thank you.
Well done, everybody.
Thank you. We'll wait for everything to be put back.
wait for the cone of silence to go up.
At least it doesn't say it has to be changed anymore.
I
They
know.
finally changed the bulb after
I
how
know.
many years, John? Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you. Maybe we'll have a snow day tomorrow.
We're not going to be kind.
No snow days.
They'll be up all night.
Put a spoon under your pillow and sleep with your bathrobe
Be on
on.
social media in about 20 minutes.
They say there's a snow day coming.
They're like winter gifts, snow day.
All right, moving on. Board comment. Anyone wishing to make board comment? Ms. Granato.
Well, I have comments on meetings set for committees and groups who continue to work for the Wethersfield Public School and our families. First one, on June 12th, Keene for Kids, which provides our valuable after-school program for our elementary and middle school students. Caroline Fazina reported that over 600 students had signed up for this session with classes that started yesterday. Hands-on learning that works to enrich our classroom science has added kindergarten and first grade this year. And the 2 elementary musical performances have begun their auditions. Silas Deane Middle School Keene for Kids has grant money for more after-school programs. And the Keene Foundation Luminaire Holiday Fundraiser had another successful year. Their golf tournament fundraiser is scheduled for May 15th. Don't hesitate to sign up. And more info to come on all their fundraising events. Always a thank you to Judy Keene and the Keene Foundation. And then on January 18th, I wish it was June 18th, January 18th, the Wethersfield Hunger Action Team met. Deborah Cohen is the coordinator, and information on the Wethersfield High School work for hunger in Let's Tackle Hunger in the fall and a hygiene drive this spring. The Dazzling Dozen is in action this year with a group or a business taking a month to provide food for our food bank. When the complete list comes out, I believe Wethersfield Public School has the month of May. The food bank can also receive monetary donations. Utilities are also an issue for some families. Please know that our food bank may ease the burden of residents who have to choose between food and utilities. There's a double SNAP program that has been very successful at the farmers market, and the mobile phone share is tomorrow and every other Wednesday at 55 Lancaster Road here in town. Social Services thanks all Wethersfield residents for their continuing generosity, and please check their website for more info. And finally, the Wethersfield Education Foundation met on January 18th. They are working on their annual membership drive. The foundation is having great success in fundraising for our teacher and administrator grants. The applications will be going out in March for the grants that will be used for next school year. This flyer right here, you're going to see in businesses around town, and you can read their mission and also scan to find out more information on the Wethersfield Education Foundation. It's like show and tell here. And you can use their website. So the work of all our school and town organization is so important to our families, and these groups know the importance of having their work communicated to our citizens. Communication continues to be the glue that holds all these organizations together, and how trust, respect, and engagement are built and sustained. They're wonderful groups of people in town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Granano. Ms. Drew?
I just wanted to say that both Chuck and I attended the Superintendent Awards that recently happened. It was wonderful. Congratulations to all the winners. I had a tear in my eye when Officer Silva went up, so he's a very dynamic officer and deserved that just as every other person did. So, but I was especially partial to the Charles Wright family, so woohoo. But thank you very much. It was wonderful, and thank you for inviting us.
Thank you. Mr. Frazina?
Yeah, since we moved around the agenda, I'll speak about a little bit about the high school now. We'd like to firstly welcome our newest assistant principal, Ms. Stephanie Jakes, on Monday. Wonderful to meet her, very nice woman, and very qualified to fill this position that's recently opened. Course selection for the high school has also begun. Students in grades 9 to 11 learned about course selection process and graduation requirements, of which have shifted, and all the information as to graduation requirements and credit requirements are listed in the student handbook. The target that our high school has set out is that we have all student schedules completed and published before we leave for summer vacation, which is a big ask from our administration and counseling staff, but they're great at their job, so I'm sure that they'll get close to that at least. 8th grade family night was our second annual 8th grade family night and will take place February 6th with a snow date of February 9th. 8th grade students and families will hear a presentation from school administration and academic department leaders about courses. For 9th graders, they'll participate in clubs, activities, and go on a tour of WHS with students and guides from our Eagle crew and DECA. Last week, we celebrated the end of our pilot program for student internships. Visitors heard about the experiences that students had in their job placements and how it helped them to choose their path after high school. We're incredibly hopeful to be able to have more students participate in internships as we move forward throughout the year. If any member of the public would like to know more about this program or have a business that would be interested in hosting an internship, feel free to contact Mr. Danaher at Wethersfield High School. Just a final list of some senior nights for varsity sports. Winter varsity sports were quickly coming to an end, unfortunately. Girls basketball on the 27th of January, wrestling on the 1st of February, hockey on the 4th of February, boys basketball, cheer,
boys basketball, cheer, and dance on the 10th of February, and boys swimming on the 21st.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Healy.
Just a quick note, we had a wonderful presentation by our young class here on kindness, and I know Bobby was there today when we said goodbye to Danny Camilleri, the former mayor, who was just 2 months shy of 101 and was sharp and active and his same old self up to the end. But I don't think there's anyone who would doubt that if you could ascribe one word to Danny Camilleri, that was kind and considerate and loved this town and gave it 50 years of his life in many capacities, as we all know. But I just wanted to point that out, that at a time where we always talk about how harsh things are, he certainly throughout his life demonstrated a role model to people about being kind. So I just wanted to pass that along. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Healy. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Riley.
I attended the presentation by the band and orchestra that was on December 15th, and that was well attended and enjoyed by everyone.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, moving on to approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the January 10th, 2023 minutes?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. With a motion and a second, any questions or comments? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
I think I have to abstain. I can't remember if I was there or not.
You were not,
Was I not here?
no, you were here, I think.
I think I was there.
Okay.
I don't know where I am.
All right, motion carries.
No abstention.
No abstentions.
Okay.
Public comment. Anyone in the public wishing to make comment, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes. Seeing none, public comment's closed. Communications, Mr. Emmett.
Thank you, Mr. Carey. Good evening again, everyone. As you saw tonight from our friends at Webb Elementary School, they noted that this week is a Great Kindness Challenge. We have a variety of different activities going on across our district to celebrate kindness at each of our schools. Again, the Great Kindness Challenge initiative is presented by Kids for Peace. It's a global campaign that promotes kindness in kindergarten through grade 12. It's positive, action-based bullying prevention initiative that creates a school culture of kindness, compassion, unity, and respect. So we'll have more in the Friday update on some of the activities that occurred over the course of this week. I want to give you the update with regard to COVID. There was a shift last week from the CDC and the FDA with regard to expiration dates on kits. The CDC has extended the expiration date on COVID test kits. Right now, with the current lot numbers we have, these kits will now be available to be used through April or May. As you know, we made a concerted effort to get all of our kits out into the hands of families. So again, families, please check the parent square that Eldemar Salinas sent out that lists out what lot numbers you may have. So you may have test kits that are not in fact expired, but you can use them. In addition to that, Mike Barabal yesterday coordinated with the DPH for a delivery of additional test kits, which we received this morning, very early this morning, and Mike has already been out to deliver those test kits to schools. So we'll be able to continue our test and stay mitigation strategy moving forward, so that's very good news. We're a little concerned about potentially having to expend funds to purchase kits, but with the extension on the expiration date, we should be good largely for the rest of the school year. From a number perspective, we continue to see flu and RSV numbers go down. Again, our most recent conversation with the DPH, which was last Tuesday, they reported that flu numbers are dropping across the state. They do anticipate one additional surge in flu later on this winter, and that's typical of a flu season. In addition to that, RSV numbers are going down. For us, we think we've hit the peak with regard to COVID on the backside of the vacation. You know, we're looking at anywhere between 5 and 10 cases a week at the high school level, and at the elementary level, we've had some of our schools that have not reported any cases. So we're not seeing any widespread spread at this point in time, which is really, really good news. So we expect to be able to get out of the winter, and hopefully be able to put this away once and for all. So, good news there. Want to give everybody an update on the SDMS Encore after-school program. That name has been selected by our students, for our students at Silas Deane Middle School. I'm very pleased to report we have filled our staff positions at the middle school, so I have now a coordinator and 3 support staff that will be getting this programming up and running. We are anticipating a start in the month of February, and right now we are currently focused on program logistics. What rooms will we use? What will transportation look like? How are we identifying kids to target for this program? We're very excited about this. Again, we are one of approximately 16 districts and municipalities across the state that's received this grant funding, and we saw a real need at Silas Deane to be able to provide this additional support. Again, we give hats off to Youth and Social Services, our friends at the Wethersfield Police Department, and our friends at the Keene Foundation, who have been instrumental in helping to get this grant together, which was written way back in August. Took a long time to get it, but now that we've got the money, things are starting to roll. So I look forward to being able to provide you with updates as this program kicks off. From a building standpoint, just to let you all know, we have a meeting. It's on the agenda for the Facilities and Maintenance Committee. So we'll have additional discussion around Collier's proposal and whether or not we need to go out to bid for future work on our long-range building plan. That meeting is slated for February 1st. So again, looking forward to having more conversation with regard to that. Also on the building front, RLE, the contractor that has completed the lighting and HVAC audit, has set a meeting for February 7th in order to review findings and opportunities. I plan to attend that meeting. It is a virtual meeting, and when I get the information, I will be sure to pass it along to you as we look to see what potential opportunities we have for cost savings and upgrades to our HVAC and lighting systems. We've been very busy with regard to strategic planning work. You may remember way back on November 9th, we came together as a board and as an administrative team over at the Stillman Building for a Board of Ed retreat. That work that you did at that meeting has laid the foundation for the work that our administrative team has continued to do. We did that most recently today during our administrative team meeting. And at this point, we are preparing a survey to go out to our community stakeholders, because that is obviously just as important. That includes our parents as well as our students. So we'll be looking to garner additional interest in terms of what our community is looking for as we embark upon updating our strategic plan. One of the things, as you may recall back in November, we talked about some of the things that we had done within that strategic plan. That strategic plan dated back to 2018. And there was a lot that we have been able to accomplish. And again, I think moving forward, we want to make sure that we have a blueprint in place moving forward for this community and this school district. Social Justice Coalition met last Thursday. We had the opportunity to meet Captain Mark Petruzzi. He participated in a full group session. We then broke out into our subgroups and are continuing our subgroup work. The next Social Justice Coalition meeting will take place on Thursday, February 16th. That will be hybrid. So if you can't make it to Wethersfield High School, please make sure you've registered, and Sarah Jones from CREC will send you the link. And then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about budget. It's budget development time. You see on your agendas, we have a series of budget workshops forthcoming. We are currently hard at work across schools and departments getting our budget requests together for the 23-24 school year. So we'll have a series of budget workshops. We'll be providing rationale and justification for our budget requests. We'll hear from department leaders. We'll hear from administrators on the rationale as to why we're looking for what we're looking for. The expectation by charter, we must have a board-approved budget available to send, to transmit to the town council by no later than March 15th. So we are actively working on that now, and I look forward to working together with all of you as we craft this budget moving forward. And with that, that is communications this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Emmett. There's no action items, reports, and discussion items. Board members, in your packet, there's announcements and information. Make sure you are attending your committee meetings. If you cannot make it, please let the chair of the committee know. Wethersfield Early Childhood Resource Center update. I believe that's...
Yes, it's Kim Bobbin and Mr. Jim Welch. Come on up.
Good. Good evening. As Superintendent Emmett said, my name is Jim Welch. If we haven't met, I am the program coordinator for the Wethersfield Early Childhood Collaborative, WECC, as the cool kids call it. And then I think everyone in town knows Kim Bobbin. She is the coordinator of early childhood and families in town. WECC is a collaborative of parents, residents, staff, and nonprofits who partner to ensure Wethersfield children both to 8 are healthy, ready for school, and connected to community. WECC celebrated its 10th birthday in the fall of 2022 after evolving from the Wethersfield Early Readiness Council. Over the last 10 years, we have evolved and grown in terms of our members, programs, and community outreach. Kim and I are Wethersfield Public School staff, but our office is actually here in Town Hall, downstairs in social service. My position is part-time, 100% grant funded, and year to year. And I told Kim and Sally it's not our teddy bears and baby bags this year. Unfortunately, Kim and I are pretty worried about preschool attendance in town. So this is the data of the incoming kindergarten class. When you register, you get the form saying what preschool your child attended, and if they attended preschool. And as you can see, it's going down, 64% this year. This goes against WECC's mission of promoting school readiness and making sure that our young children are connected to community. We don't pretend to have the answers, but are committed to working with our community partners, Wethersfield Public Schools, Wethersfield Parks and Recreation, the Wethersfield Library, Eleanor Buck Nature Center, Wethersfield Youth and Social Services, the Tri-Town YMCA, and a dozen or so small and large private child care and preschool providers, to ensure that every child and family has access to quality, affordable preschool that fits their needs with equity at the heart of what we do. As I said, 64% is just too low. I'm the parent of a child's right kindergartner, and I can tell you my daughter, she went to preschool with masks, but we can't explain this with just COVID and expecting it to write itself. Our providers stayed open during the pandemic, serving our families and young kids. Kim and I visited a lot of our providers in person in December, and we can report back that a lot of them are facing staffing shortages that are forcing them to close classrooms. Oslam at the Rainbow Center has been in business over 20 years, and she reports that the room that this photo is taken in is usually filled with children. It's closed now and used for meetings because she doesn't have the staff. And just last week, she told us that she has a teacher on long-term medical leave and is down another staff member. Manny at Pride and Joy reports the same thing. She had to close a room this fall, and she says in her 20 years, the last 6 months have been the toughest she has seen, which includes the pandemic. United Methodist Church Preschool closed its 3-year program in the fall, and the plan is to move the pre-K4 from last year into the pre-K3s into pre-K4 with no guarantee that they're going to stay open past this spring. Kim and I are working to respond to this deficit in community-based seats. We are very proud of the work we've done with Parks and Recreation and the TLC preschool program. As Bobby knows, Sally Distoli and Kathy Bagley sit on the WECC steering committee, and they've led some very out-of-the-box, groundbreaking partnerships between town and schools to serve Wethersfield preschoolers. There was a lottery for spots in the Webb preschool, the peer placement preschool, and traditionally this has left a lot of Wethersfield preschool students on a wait list, and it's usually a pretty long wait list. Meanwhile, last year, 2021-22, the TLC Parks and Rec preschool combined their 3s and 4s because of low enrollment. Thanks to a grant from the Wethersfield Better Together through the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, that we were able to get the TLC program to cost just $50 more for a year as the Wethersfield Public Schools preschool. The Parks and Rec TLC teachers are now included in training with the Board of Education Webb preschool staff, and the programs run the same days and hours. Kim and I have referred families that did not get into the Webb preschool and families from the Methodist Church preschool to TLC this fall. With this partnership, 31 students were able to attend the TLC at the reduced rate and reduce the waiting list at Webb so much that 5 more students were able to access that program. We've also been running a successful transition to kindergarten program, which started in 2017 as a response to the declining number of kindergartners attending preschool. WECC launched a 100% grant-funded program. To date, we've helped 143 families through the program. This past July, we ran 4 one-week sessions and had 42 incoming kindergartners and 48 caregivers participate. The program ran at Emerson Williams, and Kim and I think it's a pretty unique program in that the kids go off with their teachers and use the Emerson Williams kindergarten classroom, while the parents are in another room and hear about Wethersfield Public School and town resources. Speakers this year included the Wethersfield Library, Chartwells, an elementary school principal, a school nurse, Keenan Kids, Parks and Recreation, and more. The program has run through a series of grants, but this year it was part of the class program using ESSER funds. To address the lack of preschool, we also introduced playground playdates at each of the 5 elementary schools for incoming kindergartners. Last January, Highcrest Baum came to us with concerns about the social emotional well-being of incoming kindergartners. We ran 5 playdates at each of the 5 elementary schools from June through August, and it was all parent-run. The idea of a parent, and at all playdates were run by parents. And again, WECC's role is just to bring all the partners to the table, the PTOs, the public schools. It got down to the nitty-gritty where you don't want them mowing the lawn during a preschool play date. We had sign-up sheets and had over 100 incoming kindergartners sign in, and we have a class of about 230 kindergartners this year, so that we were pretty happy with that. We're also running parent leadership training. WECC has evolved to elevate a diverse group of parent leaders. We work with the Connecticut Office of Early Childhood and statewide Connecticut Children's Collective to implement the Parent Ambassador and Parent Cabinet program. We actually heard from Avani Montez's son, Matthew, with the Web Kindness Club. Avani is our Parent Cabinet member and meets regularly with state officials to raise awareness and learn about new state programs. Jermaine Namadou and Maria Vasquez are our parent ambassadors who often attend statewide meetings and listen to the concerns of their peers at school pickup, PTO events, and youth sports. Some of my best conversations with Avani and Maria are at Shelzite, are at Scout meetings with Matthew and my son Reed. We're going to kick off the 7th cohort of the UConn PEP Parent Leadership Program this Thursday. I am one of 51 parents who have been certified through the program, all led by UConn-trained facilitator Janine Barazzi. Janine is a Wethersfield parent herself, with a freshman at Wethersfield High this year. I'll hand it over to Kim.
Just quickly, why WECC? According to economist and Nobel laureate James Heckman, if you want to fight economic inequality and level the playing field, you should invest in early childhood. Just like with retirement, you get the highest return on investment if you start early. Heckman's work shows economically why WECC is so important. As Wethersfield Public School employees working with WECC, we have access to regional, state, and national partners and initiative. On Wednesday of last week, we were on a call with the National Campaign for Grade Level Reading talking about third grade reading scores. According to the campaign, research shows that learning begins long before a child enters kindergarten. And there's a school readiness gap that separates disadvantaged children from their more affluent peers. As early as 18 months, low-income children begin to fall behind in vocabulary development and other skills critical for school success. Armed with the right information, parents, daycare providers, preschool programs, and the broader community can play an enormous role in closing this gap. Again, this is why WECC is so important. If we want to increase our third grade reading scores, we need to start sooner. As residents, Jim and I want to make sure to keep our taxes low. This year, WECC brought in a total of $140,350 in outside funding to support the work in our early childhood outreach. Since the creation of the part-time early childhood coordinator position in 2016, WECC has received almost $750,000 in outside funding, and that is a lot of grant writing.
Because of the strength of our funding and partnerships, WECC is being recognized nationally for our work in early childhood. NASCI, which stands for National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement. We have been invited to present at NASCI's April Community of Practice National Meeting. We've been talking a lot. Now we want to show you what we've been up to this year at community events.
All your cares away. When you see the beauty all around and in your you feel okay. And when you pray, pray for strength to help you carry on when the troubles come your way. When you dream, dream big, as big as the ocean blue. 'Cause when you dream it might come true. When you dream, dream. When you...
Oops, I skipped a slide, didn't
No, you're good, go back.
I? Okay.
Yep.
The power of WECC is our partnerships. As WECC has evolved, we have significantly grown the number of partners. It takes more than a village to raise a child. We would like to thank all of our partners, along with the Board of Education, for supporting our work to ensure our Wethersfield children, both to 8th, are healthy, ready for school, and connected to community.
Thank you so much. Any board members with questions or comments? Mr. Riley?
Just a comment. Thanks so much for all of your work, and congratulations on the recognition by NASI of what you've done. And I am concerned about these shortages of staff. My daughter attended Pride and Joy, so I know Manny. It's a great place, and also she's having difficulty, getting into, I think, the Y program at Emerson Williams because there's no staff, so she can't get into that program. So I hope that this gets better in the future. But thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. DeRoberts?
To be clear, the lower enrollment is because of the staff shortages, or is it a two-part problem?
I don't think we know. I think cost is a big thing, right? I can tell you, we paid almost $15,000 for Sadie at the learning experience for 1 year. And when we talk equity, some families can afford that, some can't, right? So.
Is there any money for scholarships or anybody who offers any kind of scholarship?
So Wethersfield is unique in that the Wethersfield Mayor's Charity Ball has given us $37,000 over the years to support preschool. But again, it's expensive and it's also confusing. We had a mom call the other day who was from Jamaica, and she said, "Why is it so difficult to get a kid into preschool? Why do I have to, it's like shopping for college. I have to call a million places and apply and I have to pay." She said, "I don't understand. In Jamaica, I just put my kid in school, it's free, and off they go." But it is like applying to college, and it can be confusing for families. So we do the best we can, but it's expensive and confusing.
And do you have any, data about daycare that also supplies a nursery program or preschool program?
Can you ask that question in a different way?
No, you don't get it. Do you keep any data about any daycare in town or in the area that also run their own preschool program?
I think we keep in pretty good touch. I think Diana Guild, she is Little Wise Daycare. She runs a preschool. I think a lot of the small, so we have providers in this town, Learning Experience Children of America, who are licensed for hundreds of kids, literally hundreds. And then we have a network of home providers that are registered for 6 kids total. A lot of them have less formal preschools. So I think we're in good touch, and we try and support the home providers to make sure they have what they need.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Granado?
And, if I could make a wish or win the lottery, I would have pre-K in Wethersfield. Teaching second grade for so many years, I could tell within weeks who had been to preschool. And it's just their ability to be in a classroom and to focus, and just their pre-learning is phenomenal. If they've had pre-K, and that a school system can be stronger because of their early childhood programs. And I'm a big believer in that, and I love working with WECC. I think you people are doing the best we can with the resources we have. So thanks, guys.
Mr. Cassio?
I was curious to hear the Methodist Church will be closing at the end of the year. And that's been such a big component of Wethersfield community with preschool. Is it because of lack of enrollment, or do you have a...
I think so. We haven't officially heard that they will close, but they'll know in August, which is pretty foreboding. But I think it's lack of staff more than lack of enrollment.
The other question is the outside funding. Congratulations.
That's a lot of grant writing.
That's a lot of grant writing.
Yeah, a lot of writing, a lot of grants, and keep up that.
I can chase down Mike Emmett in any corner, and I have found him in basements. Michael, can you sign this? It's due tomorrow. For some reason, they're always due on Memorial Day, Labor Day, right, Sally? Always. Yeah. I don't know why that is.
Is it good for kids? You've got
is
my
it good
signature.
for kids? Michael will sign it, and Sally will support it. So.
That's people don't realize the background work that is to be done by you and your staff, and to keep the program rolling. So, kudos to both of you on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? You're not a board member. I know. Mr. Abbott?
I have to give a couple of shameless plugs. I have to say, I've had the honor and privilege of attending every single one of the PEP groups over the course of the previous 7 years. So I remember when Mr. Welch was a PEP participant and now is a parent leader. And we have been able to develop a lot of parent leaders here in the Wethersfield Public Schools, and I am extraordinarily proud of that. I also want to give a huge shout out also to Kim with regard to our work around the transition to kindergarten program. I remember when it started just as a dream, looking for those students that had not had a preschool experience. I will tell you from my observation and from what I see, I go every summer to visit with our incoming kindergartners. And on occasion, it's consoling the kindergartner that is upset and crying, and sometimes it's the parents that are upset and crying that we have to console. But what it does is it provides them with an opportunity to get ready, to get prepared, to learn to collaborate with their peers. They get a flavor for what the school environment's about. And when I go out and I visit the schools, I cannot tell you the number of kindergartners that will come up to me and seek me out because they remember me from that transition to kindergarten program. It really is all about making the connection, whether it's our parents coming in for the first time to the district or our students. So thank you for everything you have done with that program. And the last thing, was that Justino on the presentation who I held at the family learning program when he was about 6 months old? Again, starts at birth, right?
Yeah, and Avani, when she was, Avani spoke at the state capitol and Michael Emmett attended, and they made a comment that, do you see any other superintendents in the room? And no, Michael was the only one who came. But also, when we talk nationally about a superintendent that holds babies and then sees them on their first day of kindergarten, it's rare. So there's a lot to be said for, Michael's support of the work, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. Thank you for all your great work.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Well done. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Moving on to Next Generation Accountability Index presentation. Mr. Stoli, I assume, is taking the mic?
Mr. Stoli will be taking the mic. This, as you well know, over the course of the 2022-2023 school year, you had a variety of presentations that have come before you, from student achievement with the SBAC results back in October. We've done school improvement updates for both elementary and secondary. We did our board retreat to talk about strategic planning. And again, this evening, what we'd like to do is provide you with a little bit of background on the Next Generation Accountability Index scores, which were released by the state back in early December. So without further ado, Mrs. DeSoli.
Good evening. I bring lots of kindness and I bring lots of smiling faces, but a little bit more of a data-driven conversation tonight now.
You can do it.
Let me just move this forward a little bit. So like in business, education has accountability model also. What's a little bit different is this accountability model is statewide to bring about transparency across the state. It tracks progress of schools and districts over time, allows us to celebrate our successes, and reminds us to continue to focus on areas of growth. This is kind of old days. None of this data is really a surprise. They put it all together to be able to compare across schools and districts. But none of this is a surprise because we've been looking at this other data in different sources. And as I mentioned, it provides transparency for the public. So please remember that it's important that these index scores should not be thought of a gotcha tool. Tonight is not about a gotcha. There are 1,000 other ways to also measure progress across schools and districts, and we're going to talk about a few that are in our state accountability model this evening. So the Next Generation Accountability System has gone through many revisions since its conception in 2014 based on federal legislation to meet ESSA, or Every Student Succeed Act requirements. The revisions have actually been welcomed improvements. In that it allows Connecticut to now use a much broader measure of accountability with more than 12 different data sources. However, I might argue this is still a really narrow measure, right? I always use the analogy of my health, right? I could take 12 different blood tests and measure my health out of 12, but there's a lot of other measures to look at your health when you go to a physician. Same thing here, 12 important measures based upon research, but there are other things that we aren't going to be discussing today to look at the success of our schools in our district. It's designed to be inclusive, meaning that it's measuring more than just test scores. It's meant to be a broad measure of a school or a district. Transparent. There's a great website I'll share with you tonight to make it publicly accessible so parents, students, staff, and community members can take a look at the data. It's not super secret data at all. Reflective. It's meant to drive reflection on the national, state, regional, district, and school level to help teams use this data to inform decisions and plan for continuous improvement. And it's meant to be collaborative. The State Department does actively seek feedback. Both Mr. Emmett and I have served on the CAPS Accountability Committee and provided feedback into the process of some of the waivers and revisions submitted. So the Next Generation Accountability System really values academic growth as part of its measure. It looks at the same group of students from grade to grade to measure growth. It also focuses on our achievement gap. Students in the high needs subgroup statistically score lower on achievement measures than their peers. As you know, this high group of students includes students who qualify for free and reduced meals, students with disabilities, or students who are English language learners. This accountability model disaggregates all data compared to those students in the high needs category. So let's start with some of our celebrations we have to share. Hamner Schools, again, a school of distinction. That means they have scored in the top 10% of schools around the state in 4 categories. High overall performance, growth in mathematics for all students, growth in mathematics for high need students, and growth in language arts for high need students. So congratulations to Hamner School. Webb and Wethersfield High School have moved up to a category 2 from a category 3, and Highcrest has had a slight increase in the overall index score. No easy feat as we come out of the pandemic and see, right, lower achievement and lower attendance rates. So here is a list of some of the indicators found on both the district and school reports and the point values depending upon the grade span. One of the messages I want to share with you on this slide is that you can't just take the overall total points and compare an elementary school to a middle school or high school. They're apple, oranges, and bananas, shall we say. You can see there's different point values depending upon the different indicators of growth. Some are only available to the high school. Some are different at the elementary, middle, and high. And the same thing goes for, it's really hard you can't compare a K-3 school with a K through 6 school. K-3 only assesses grade 3, one grade level, and doesn't have growth scores. A K-6 score has a lot of different scores. So when comparing schools or districts, you really have to kind of dig into the data a little bit deeper. So let me give you a little background on the different indicators the research tell us are good predictors of district or school success. So indicator 1 is academic achievement. It's calculated in math and language arts and English proficiency for our multilingual learners. It's calculated using the SBAC assessment, Next Generation Science Assessment, and SATs at the secondary level. Indicator 2 is growth, which is measured by the Smarter Balanced Assessment in math and language arts. So that would only be grades 4 through 8 because you'd have to have more than 1 year scores for growth. When we also look at the growth of our English language learners' proficiency, indicator 2F. You're all, so indicator 3, anybody catch that? Indicator 3 is missing. But indicator 3 is participation on standardized assessments. There's a requirement to have at least 95% of both all students and high needs students participate. If not, you're automatically demoted categories if you don't have participation. Number 4 is chronic absenteeism. We've been talking a lot about this at the board level and our school level around, and we'll talk a little bit about the data related to chronic absenteeism tonight. Indicator 5 is post-secondary preparation, which is a percentage of students in grade 11 and 12 participating in at least 2 AP or advanced placement courses, or 2 dual enrollment, such as UConn or Central or community college courses, 2 courses in the same strand in a CTE or career and technical education strand, like 2 business classes, 2 manufacturing classes, or 2 workplace experience courses in any area. Indicator 6 is post-secondary readiness. So it looks at only students in grades 11 and 12 and the percent of students that have achieved a certain benchmark. And the benchmark may be reached by a certain score on the SAT, ACT, or an AP exam earning 3 credit courses through a dual enrollment course. Indicator 7 is our on track to high school graduation, which is the percentage of 9th graders who learn at least 6 full credit classes by the end of the school year. This indicator is important because research tells us that students that have earned 6 credits as a freshman are more likely to graduate high school in 4 years. Indicator 8 is the 4-year adjusted cohort graduation, which is a percentage of first-time 9th graders who graduate with a regular high school diploma in 4 years or less. So it's the 4-year graduation rate. Whereas indicator 9 is the 6-year adjusted cohort rate for graduation, which is a percentage of first-time 9th graders who graduate with a regular high school diploma in 6 or less years. So we recognize for a variety of reasons that some students need extra time to graduate. It may be English language learners that are new to the country who arrive in middle school or high school need some time. Students from low-income families who may need to work part-time to support their family may need more than 4 years to graduate. And students who receive students with disabilities who receive transition services up to the age of 22 may also need some additional time for services. So unlike the 4-year graduation rate, the graduation accomplishment of these students can be counted towards the success of a 6-year graduation rate. Indicator 10, post-secondary entrance, is a percentage of graduating class who enroll in a 2 or 4-year college, post-secondary institution at any time during the first year of high school, after high school graduation. Indicator 11 is physical fitness, which is the percentage of students meeting or exceeding the health physical zone standard in the 4 areas of physical fitness, which include aerobic endurance, flexibility, upper body strength and endurance, and abdominal muscle strength and endurance. And indicator 12 is arts access, and it measures the percentage of students in 9 through 12 participating in at least one dance, theater, music, visual arts, or media course during the school year. So a lot of data, they aggregate, they collect, they look at to create these different indicators for the next generation accountability scores. So we're going to talk about a few more celebrations and look at the district overall. So Hamner and Highcrest actually increased their accountability index this year compared to, for 21-22 compared to 18-19. Notice there's a gap. We didn't report accountability indexes because of COVID due to some of the lack of data we had. So again, no easy feat to increase your accountability index as we come out of the pandemic. So congratulations to both those schools. Webb and the high school do not have an identified achievement gap. So both those schools moved from category 3 to category 2. We should note that if a school has an identified achievement gap, they automatically drop a score level because of the identified achievement gap. So if you are a category 2, but you have an achievement gap, you would automatically become a category 3 score. So we could be here all night about the data. I stayed up at night, I got up early, I thought about those charts and those graphs I know you love. But I wanted to share with you, instead of a whole bunch of charts and graphs tonight, just this idea, and for the public, that there is a site called EdSite, the website. It looks like this when you go to the home page. On the right-hand side by the arrow, there is a link called Next Generation Accountability Scores. But this is where the transparency comes from district data. You can look at our town, other towns, and you can get lost in numbers and looking at all sorts of questions and finding answers on your own. It's a great site. They've made a lot of improvements, but I'd highly recommend it. So I'm going to leave you with, if you have questions, I'm going to leave you to go investigate some of those questions you might have. So I do want to share a couple of examples of a graph, and graphics have come off that site, so you can know some of the questions you might be able to ask. So this slide shows the growth of our high needs students. So we're looking at just high needs. Students for special education, qualify for free or reduced meals, and students with disabilities. So they are students in language arts. High need students in language arts are the orange, and math is gray. So we're looking at the growth, percentage of students that met target in language arts in orange and math in gray. The school names are on the bottom, so from left to right, we have Hamner, Charles Wright, Emerson Williams, Highcrest, and Webb. So as you can see, in most cases, with the exception of one school, the slope of the line compared to 2019 compared to 2022 is steep. The steeper the slope of the line, the greater the growth or improvement of our students demonstrated, and when you look at 2019 compared to 2022. Overall, we had a higher number of high-need students at the elementary level reach their growth targets compared to 2019. And we're really incredibly proud of this growth. We talked recently about our work of our math interventionists, but we talk about reducing our achievement gap and ensuring that our high-need students are growing. This data, especially as we come out of the pandemic and focus on interrupted learning, this data is incredibly promising, and proud of our teachers and support staff and administration around this work. This graph also displays the 5 elementary schools and the growth in English proficiency of our multilingual learners, again, 2019 compared to 2022. You'll note the web doesn't have data in 2019 due to their student count being below 20 in those grades, but you can see the great gains that our multilingual learners are also making in most of our schools, which is great success, especially seeing the increase we have in our English language learner population. Now we're going to take a minute to talk about attendance, and I have in my notes attendance in capital letters, right? This is a theme we've been talking about at our administrative meetings, at our attendance meetings, at our school-based meetings, at the board level. So this graph is actually displaying statewide data for students that have been chronically absent over the last 3 years. So 24% of students in Connecticut missed more than 10% of the school year last year. So think about it. A quarter of our entire state of students missed over 18 days of school last year. So it's a quarter of them. And what's even more heartening is that 34% of our high need students are students that need the most growth because they're in high needs, missed over 10% of school last year. So this is the state data. And I'm going to flip to Wethersfield, state, Wethersfield, state, right? Wethersfield. So Wethersfield numbers are lower. You can see the trend is just as concerning. Last year, 22% of all students missed more than 10% of the school year. And, I'm sorry, 13% missed 10% or more of the school year. And 22%, right? 1 in 5 of our students of high needs missed more than 18 days of school year last year. We're currently going to be looking at our district data for mid-year this year to see what that trend looks. And this is beyond absences, right? This is 18 days. You could have COVID, you could have the flu, you could have some absences. We're really talking about the value of education, getting your child to school on time, being there is something that we're really looking at. And as you know, we've had some campaign and messaging, but if students aren't in school with highly qualified teachers, they're not learning. Thus, we look at, achievement measures. Attendance is one of the biggest, I think, leverage points in improving achievement. So that's a little bit of our attendance last year. Again, no surprise, that's why attendance is a goal this year, and we continue to focus on strategies of positive culture and climate and encouraging our students to come to school. So here's the district accountability scores from 2018, 19, and 2022. You can look across the years for trends, but you can also look at the impact the pandemic has had on student outcomes. Blue shaded boxes represent areas we've met the state target, and the orange boxes on the bottom represent the overall district accountability index. You can see that we've increased from 79.3 pre-COVID to 75.7. So overall, we see a decrease in achievement due to remote learning, masks, and absences from school, all the interrupted learning during COVID. We have seen some areas of increase in achievement and growth, as I showed you tonight, and we're really proud of seeing those increases in growth. That's really critical as we turn around to look at improving achievement. We've seen a decrease in the number of 9th grade students on track to graduate, and we've seen a decrease in physical fitness scores. Our trends are not very different than trends of other districts around the state. You will see that the school-based scores are in this PowerPoint. I'm not going to go through all of those tonight, but wanted to give you that data to be able to look at on your own, or we're going to be here all night if I go through all of it. So in addition, all schools did meet their 95% participation rate, which is great. And as we talked about, the high school does not have an identified gap in the graduation rate, which is a great success. Wethersfield as a district does not have any identified achievement gaps. However, we're not satisfied with our current data, we still need to reduce the achievement gap that we do have, but it's not identified based upon their definition. So looking back a little bit, as we look at last year's data from 21-22, we introduced the 3 priorities of empathy, achievement, and equity. And these priorities continue to align our focus on the growth areas. Schools are implementing strategies found in their school improvement plan to address the areas identified tonight. So we do this work as we look forward to the vision of a graduate. The vision of a graduate identifies those skills we want to ensure that all of our graduates walking across the stage of graduation demonstrate. We want to make sure they're all communicators, problem solvers, and collaborators, along with being college and career ready. So in addition to our strategic plan and the mission statement that we use to drive our district and school improvement work, we take these goals and strategies to then drive our district improvement plans, superintendent goals, school improvement plans, and teacher and administrator goals. So again, this data is not a surprise. This is data we've been looking at, but it's been kind of packaged in one model called the accountability model. But this is the structure we're using to continuously look at our data, inform our decision, set our priorities, and refine our work, and then look at our results to see our success. So questions?
Thank you, Mr. Stoley. Any board members with questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Roberts.
I like the fact that there are other ways of measuring success, and I think growth is really important. It can be very frustrating to see a test score, a standardized test score that you're not happy with, but people need to see the work that's gone into the progress that that particular student has made. As far as the absenteeism, I'm sure there's many reasons, but have you found a common thread? I mean, just a new habit from COVID, or just not feeling like they can handle the work? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons, but, you know, are there any common threads that you've identified?
Yeah, so I think that increased mental health, anxiety, depression of both students and adults contributes to absences. We have kind of theorized possibly, right, more people working at home. I will admit, both my husband and I work, and they weren't feeling so well. I'd give them some Tylenol and send them to school, right? We come out of this pandemic, and the message is, if you're not feeling well, stay home, right? So we do have these 2 different messages going on. If you're not sick, stay home, but we need you at school to learn, so we need you to get you to school. I do think the definition of chronically absent is 18 days, right? So that does allow, you could have the flu and you could have COVID, but still not be chronically absent. I think there is during remote learning and, giving people opportunities during COVID and the flexibilities, there's less of this, my child has to be at school every day, kind of societal change on valuing or less value maybe on school and the importance of being at school every day and not understanding the cumulative effect, right? If you miss 18 days, or we have students missing 30, 40 days. Oh. And if you miss that and you miss that, you've missed multiple years. It's not, you don't have 13 years of education. And we're not talking about, circumstance out of their control, right? So I think there's a lot of different varied reasons. I think there are families that are working incredibly hard, 2 jobs, there's less supervision. I mean, there's a lot of different situations, and every family has a different story or different, but our attendance teams meet. We have a process in place where we're looking at data, supporting our families. But I think one of the frustrations is that, we know that research tells us positive approaches, right? Positive culture and climate, engaging lessons, strong relationships. They want to come to school and learn. They're excited to come to learn. Like, those positive strategies help improve attendance. But we don't have any control when somebody is absent 40 days. We don't have a process to hold them accountable or go to the court system, or, right? There's no kind of teeth in that message. So I think it's about messaging, building a community support around attendance and valuing time in school, because that time is, important. And we're working together as a team to really come up with creative strategies. Statewide, there is a committee that brings back strategies. So I think it's something statewide that's concerning, as you saw from the data, and we continue to look at that. But it is something that we, I'm going to say don't have all the answers for, but continue to talk about.
I can see with that and the WECC presentation, it's bigger than a school issue. All of these, the achievement and the attendance, everything, it truly is a community.
It is, takes a village.
And I think, you've done some really great things with the ESSER funds, and I think, and I hope as a community going forward, when that ends, we can see our way clear to continuing a lot of the programs and personnel that have brought about the needed improvement. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Drew?
I just have a comment. I just wanted to say there's nothing, unfortunately, in this presentation that I wasn't shocked about. We've been working on this for a while, and I appreciate the proactive nature that the administration and the board has done in regards to this. We're going to be, one of our academic deficiencies is math in a lot of the schools. And now we're going to be working on creating a new, bringing in a new math program, which hopefully next year we'll do that. And then, Superintendent Emmett, one of his goals this year is to work on the chronic absenteeism. So I look forward to hearing about his, the 6 month, the mid-year numbers, and to see, how we've been moving on. But I appreciate that you guys acknowledged this before we got this, and you knew what we had to do, and you've been working on it. So I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for noticing.
Thank you. Any other board members? Mr. Lacavoli?
I just have a question concerning the categories. It's awesome to see that some of our schools jumped up into a higher category. How many categories are there?
I believe there's 5.
Okay.
Total 5.
Because all of our schools were in 2 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot to be proud of.
Correct. When you get into Category 4 or Category 5, Category 5 is turnaround, where you have input coming in from the state in terms of how you will respond. Category 4 is also some additional technical support from the state. So obviously, you're looking for Category 1. That's where you want to be. And again, I think too, with the idea of the School of Distinction with Hammer was only one of, I believe, 139 schools in the entire state of Connecticut.
Yeah, it's the top 10%.
That was listed as a school of distinction. So, and again, I see some good growth there. I still see some achievement gaps. There's no doubt about that. And again, you look at the middle school. Obviously, we know we needed to make some adjustments to the middle school. We've certainly done that. We're working on that now moving forward. So, and I look forward to, presenting more data with regard to the attendance, something we talked about just today at the admin team. And on February 7th, our next administrative team meeting, that is our focus, where we will be looking at our attendance dashboards across all 7 schools. So we're definitely working on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Granado?
I just want to ask about post-secondary entrance. I've never heard that before, so I want, is that meaning where they go after they graduate? That's what I'm thinking.
That they're enrolled, yes.
You know what I'm thrilled with is once upon a time it was if you went to a 4-year college. And that's what the data was on. And now it's, you can go to a 2-year tech school. Does it include the military too? Because if you're going into that? In other words, are they going somewhere after they graduate?
I don't believe it includes military. I'd have to look at the technical notes. I think it's just 2- and 4-year higher ed institutions.
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad when I saw that's what was included. Thanks. Thanks for everything.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Fazina.
I'd like to thank you and the administration for, as Mr. said, acting so proactively when it comes to adjusting portions of our academic and social curriculum of our schools, especially to meet the troubles that we all face through COVID. I know that it definitely affected my sophomore year transcript. I won't say which direction, but I was just curious as to, as was said before, the chronic absenteeism, has that affected the scoring of the schools through this system, if at all?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if I go back to the point value system, so chronic absenteeism is 100 points at every level, right? So roughly 10% of a school score, or a little bit less. But we find is that it has a bigger payout than 10% of the score, because again, if they're not, there's a cumulative effect. If they're not in school, our achievement scores are lower, right? And our high needs are lower because our high needs population has a statistically greater chance of not being in school. So while it is, I'm going to say only 100 points, we find it's a high leverage area, because again, it impacts achievement, but it also, if you're not in school, you're not building relationships, you're not connected to your community, you don't know your friends, right? You're not building social environments, like you're not, it's bigger than achievement for student success. And if we can get students to have school, that's number one in helping them improve. So we think it's worth more than 100 points if you want to kind of look at it that way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Great job, Mr. Solly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
Thank you, Sally.
spending the night with us.
Thank you.
We'll let our friend put his thing up for us. Moving on to meetings held, student programs and services was canceled. The CREC Council on 1/18/2023, Ms. Granado.
Okay, the CREC Council met on Wednesday, January 18th, and the CREC Council is the Capital Region Educational Council, of which Wethersfield is a member, along with 35 other surrounding towns, and they are responsible for the regional magnet schools and Project Choice, and they've also organized and run the Hartford Head Start. The meeting started with a presentation on their annual report, which is a very interesting, compact report. The council also received a quick update on the recent financial audit of CREC finances. No issues were found, and the CREC website has all this info. Executive Director Greg Florio also commented on this annual report, and that it is a summary of CREC for the 21-22 school year. My interesting note here is that Council Chair Lydia Tadone asked us to share info on the annual report, which I'm going to give to Mr. Emmett, and on the upcoming legislative CREC breakfast, which is on Thursday, February 16th at 8 o'clock, and all Wethersfield board members and administrators are invited. And I actually have like a cheat sheet on all of the things that have to do with Wethersfield and CREC. So if anybody is interested in going, please let me know, and I'll get this to you. Just two interesting stats. There's 113 students enrolled in our CREC schools, and the tuition from the Wethersfield district is $645,849. So I really would like as many people to come to our breakfast as they can. An interesting note, too, on this General Assembly, the new General Assembly, there are 45 members of the Education Committee. That's the largest number of representatives ever on this committee, and hopefully it means that there's more interest and focus on our state schools. So I would like it if we could be there, a couple of us, and Michael too, and it is a nice way to, it's a very informal, in the Capitol Legislative Office, a nice informal way to talk to our legislators, and there's 45 of them now, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Granado. Finance and Operations Committee, 1/24/23, Ms. Drew.
So we had our meeting tonight before this meeting. We discussed our current financial status, which we're basically at status quo. We're just under 1% under budget. We also discussed the budget for next year. Currently, just doing salaries and benefits, we're at about a 3% increase. That does not include transportation increase, legal for contract negotiations, tuition increases from CREC, needs and requests from the teachers in regards to changing our math program, curriculum writing, which we know we're going to be needing, technology, the list goes on and on. So we have these budget workshops, and so I hope that we'll be getting to the meat of those. We also discussed our 2% fund and discussed the amount that was in there, to discuss possibly using it, for Colliers or whoever. We are probably going to have to go out to bid since it's over $20,000. So we'll let facilities and operations handle that, but that's where we are.
Thank you. Meeting scheduled, facilities and maintenance on 2/1/23 at 6 PM. And then we have our budget workshops, day 1, 2/25/23 at 9 AM, day 2, 3/1/23 at 6 PM, day 3, 3/4/23 at 9 AM, and day 4, 3/8/23 at 6 PM. Board members, if you cannot attend those, please let us know sooner than later, so we can make sure we have a quorum for all 4 of those workshops. We're not sure we're gonna need them all, but just so we make sure. There's no unfinished business and public comment. Anyone in the public wishing to make comment, come to the podium, state your name, your address, and you have 5 minutes. Seeing none, moving on to proposed executive session. Do we have a motion to go into executive session
So moved.
to discuss superintendent's mid-year evaluation? So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries.